In a staggering revelation, foreign scammers have bilked hardworking Aussies out of billions of dollars. Countless individuals have lost everything. This pervasive scam continues to devastate Australia, with life savings totaling over 120,000 and climbing towards 900,000. However, a global sting operation led by Bartlett and Coulthart is underway. Across 24 locations, 81 arrests have been made, $4 million seized, and even the Kingpin brought to justice. This was a group of dangerous criminals who pretended to be sophisticated financial advisors with British accents and had been running a billion-dollar scam that targets innocent Australians. They trick people into investing their hard-earned money, causing them to lose their life savings. These fraudsters operate mainly from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, and they manage to steal around $4 million from Australians every week. Many honest Australians, including a couple from Perth, have sadly been deceived by these criminals. Overwhelmed by anger, humiliation, and a sense of foolishness, they are too ashamed to reveal their true identities. However, the devastating blow came when they discovered that their hard-earned savings, amounting to a staggering $270,000, had been mercilessly stolen. It was a gut-wrenching realization, a profound sense of betrayal. After all their years of toil and sweat, their retirement nest egg vanished into thin air. The bitter pill was made even harder to swallow, for they were responsible for a young family. Financial planning had always been a priority, a means to secure their future. Enticed by the promise of prosperity, they embarked on the journey of managing their own self-managed super fund. In the beginning, it seemed like a wise choice, with positive returns reinforcing their optimism. Little did they know that they were walking into a trap that ensnared not only them, but thousands of unsuspecting Australians. The scammers, cunning as ever, had raised their game to unprecedented levels of sophistication. Their initial move was to craft an upscale online facade, luring in unsuspecting victims like this hardworking couple. Their trap is meticulously crafted, with prestige-looking websites enticing Facebook ads and even content on reputable financial platforms. It's all designed to lure unsuspecting victims. Nat and Tom, seeking to reinvest in rare earth shares, innocently clicked on a link for more information, unknowingly stepping into a carefully laid snare. A simple inquiry led to a phone call, where they were assured of receiving detailed information. To establish credibility, the scammer guided them to Yahoo Finance, presenting a seemingly legitimate financial license and verified details. The elaborate plan unfolded flawlessly, leaving Nat and Tom convinced that they were purchasing legitimate shares. However, it was all a facade. The scammers were selling non-existent company shares, preying on the couple's trust and financial aspirations. Fraudulent operators across the country exploit bogus websites to advertise securities in real companies. Despite awareness by ASIC and federal police, little action has been taken. Nat and Tom's experience reflects a common pattern. Initially, they made a relatively small investment of $20,000, with promises of moderate profits. Once their trust was gained, the scammers seized the opportunity to introduce another investment opportunity, exploiting their vulnerability. The allure of financial gain lured them deeper into the trap. Nat dedicated 4 days to researching the company. She diligently checked the Scam Watch website of the ACCC and even contacted the Montreal head office of Asgard Union Trading, the supposed investment company they were dealing with. Little did she know that it was merely a front for the scammers, a virtual company. Tracking down these fraudsters proved to be a formidable challenge. They employ virtual private networks and manipulate their internet protocol providers to conceal their true locations. Disguising their country of origin, they operate from one place while appearing to be in another. They may claim to be in Taiwan when in reality they are based in Malaysia. Inside the very building, Nat and Tom interacted with numerous boiler rooms house scammers targeting Australians. This hub of deception is located in Kuala Lumpur, deliberately chosen by the masterminds of this criminal syndicate. They seek out countries where they can establish themselves securely, where law enforcement personnel may receive minimal salaries, and where opportunities for bribery of officials exist. These scammers are part of a vast network stealing millions from unsuspecting Australians. Within those boiler rooms, thousands of people are targeted daily. The sheer volume of successful calls, emptying bank accounts of hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars, ensures substantial profits. A significant loophole exists in Australia when it comes to investigating fraud against private individuals. The Australian Federal Police rarely pursue such cases once it is determined that the offenders are overseas. There is a lack of interest, resources, and willingness to collaborate with international partners to apprehend these criminals. This leaves victims without justice and allows the scammers to operate with impunity. In collaboration with Ken Gamble and the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, efforts are being made to address this pressing issue. With each new investment, Nat and Tom saw promising profits on paper. However, when they sought to cash in, their troubles began. They were met with delays and informed that a substantial fee was required for the release of their funds. The realization hit them hard. They had been scammed. Desperate and defrauded, they sought help from Ken Gamble, who advised them to keep the scammers engaged in conversation and record their interactions as evidence. The scammers relentlessly attempted to extract every last cent, but Nat and Tom stayed strong, which revealed rare audio recordings of the scammers at work. Despite the trauma, they held their nerve, surviving on their wages and a remaining $19,000 in their super account. Shortly after Nat and Tom, the narrator traveled to Malaysia, where plans to bring down the scammers were in advanced stages. However, in Melbourne, another Australian victim emerged, an IT expert named Jason. Despite his financial and web knowledge, he fell into an elaborate trap. He came across an investment site that appeared trustworthy, but he sought further assurance. Jason visited the MoneySmart website, recommended by Australian Securities and Investments Commission, to detect scams. He verified its registration as an Australian business and checked the ASIC's Scam Watch website. However, the scammers still managed to swindle him out of a total of 120,000 Australian dollars. Australians, known for their trusting nature, have become easy targets for scammers. Countless individuals have lost their life savings to these fraudsters. The scam gained momentum during the COVID lockdown when people were confined to their homes and spent more time online. The scammers employ a long con strategy, luring victims with small initial investments that yield fake profits on paper. Once ensnared, they relentlessly drain victims of every last cent. The audacity with which these fraudsters operate is truly alarming. Despite being aware of ongoing scams in Australia, both the corporate watchdog and the federal police have failed to take action. The lack of intervention raises questions about their effectiveness in preventing scams and protecting the public. Malaysia serves as a haven for scammers who specifically target Australians, bringing in significant sums of money without detection. In collaboration with Malaysia's Anti-Corruption Commission, Ken Gamble's IFW Global is on the trail of the stolen Australian money, working towards one of the largest scam busts in history. The scammers often operate from a high-rise building, branded with the letters MM, which stands for Mugs with Money, reflecting their derogatory view of their Australian victims. Unbeknownst to the scammers, they'll soon spend the next 8 hours on the phones as Ken's team keeps them under surveillance. Their focus is on their ringleader, and they have a trusted double agent working within their ranks. Additionally, they have gained special access to an informant named Andre, who played a pivotal role in making these operations possible. Andre, who used the profits significantly from the boiler rooms they're about to dismantle, has decided to cooperate with them. His information proves invaluable, particularly concerning the identity of Mr. Big behind this criminal syndicate. British expat Andy Peters, known as Peg Leg Andy, is the head of the syndicate responsible for scamming Australian victims. He is currently enjoying a luxurious lifestyle at an exclusive resort, funded by the money stolen from unsuspecting victims. Peg Leg Andy, who acquired his nickname due to a leg amputation, is identified as one of the main bosses of the operation. The syndicate, led by him, is estimated to be responsible for scamming over $1 billion Australian dollars. In Victoria, a victim has lost $6.8 million, while on the Gold Coast, another victim lost $1.6 million. In New South Wales, a recently discovered victim has lost $5.8 million. And astonishingly, a lawyer in Perth has lost $12 million to these scammers. Every day brings new victims. We've uncovered yet another victim who's lost nearly $1 million Australian dollars. James, a former engineer and businessman, received an initial call from a British-speaking individual claiming to be from Taiwan. The scammer knew James's name and phone number, which they likely obtained from his LinkedIn profile. The New South Wales retiree was groomed by a sophisticated-sounding Englishman claiming to be a global company's head. The scammer gently proposed investment opportunities and gathered the retiree's personal information, including age, occupation, and liquidity. The retiree invested, provided identification, and monitored their shares through a login. Initially, shares were bought at $8, but within a month, they were falsely valued at $12 on the system. But he lost around 900,000 Australian dollars, his life savings. For the scammers, it all adds up. During James' time there, they were making around 4 million Australian dollars in a week. These scammers have left England and set up operations in Southeast Asia, often with criminal backgrounds. After being scammed, victims are lured into another department, where they are convinced to remortgage their homes, leading to devastating losses. But the police were after them. While some Malaysian police were intentionally kept unaware due to concerns of bribery, Dato' Zamuri, the director of Malaysia's powerful anti-corruption commission, was leading the operation with meticulous planning. This was the largest operation conducted against scammers. Foreign secrecy was deemed crucial, as the crime syndicates behind these scams were not only wealthy but also ruthless. The raid had been meticulously organized to apprehend the individuals involved. When asked about the potential danger, it was acknowledged that these criminals were capable of physical harm, as they had previously resorted to violence, including shootings and killings. The scammers would face their reckoning on D-Day, and Malaysia's Anti-Corruption Commission was determined to bring down Pegleg's criminal empire once and for all. Justice was finally being served for the Australian victims of these scams. Malaysian anti-corruption authorities were executing a massive raid on the boiler rooms where the scammers operated. These teams were authorized to use lethal force if met with any resistance, with the clear objective of bringing these scammers down. At exactly 4 p.m., the decisive moment had arrived. The scammers were about to face their downfall. One of the first individuals to be apprehended was Darren, the manager of the boiler room. Despite his attempts to defend himself, he couldn't escape the consequences of his actions. Darren, originally from England, now faced the prospect of a 20-year prison sentence, caning, and a substantial fine. Meanwhile, as the raid unfolded, some of the scammers attempted to flee or hide. One scammer was found attempting to escape through the roof, while another daringly jumped out of a window in a desperate bid to evade justice. However, his escape plan backfired, resulting in severe injuries to both hands, an arm, and a leg, leaving him fortunate to survive. In a coordinated operation, raids were conducted across the city, targeting 24 locations, including the scammers' apartments. Along with apprehending the individuals involved, a wealth of incriminating evidence was seized, providing a detailed account of their deceptive operations. Inside the boiler rooms, scripts and playhooks were discovered, revealing the tactics used to deceive unsuspecting victims. During the raid, one individual declined to comment without legal representation, realizing the severity of the situation. The victims interviewed all shared a similar experience of being conned out of their life savings by individuals with British accents. Harsh penalties await the perpetrators, including 20 years of prison sentences and the possibility of being caned for white-collar crimes. The fear and remorse on their faces are indicative of the consequences they know they will face. As the raid unfolds and scammers are apprehended, the question of who the boss is arises, but nobody seems to know. Ken Gamble, along with Liam Bartlett, shares the good news of numerous arrests and expresses the next steps of recovering assets and seeking justice. Nat, one of the victims, shows no sympathy for the heartless thieves who stole her life savings. On a rainy day in Kuala Lumpur, Pegleg received a house call from the authorities. Despite portraying himself as a family man, he was revealed to be the ruthless ringleader of Malaysia's biggest scam syndicate. Forced to cooperate, Pegleg denied any wrongdoing and tried to protect his ill-gotten wealth. However, his home was thoroughly searched and he was taken into custody. It became evident that Pegleg had amassed significant wealth through his fraudulent activities, as evidenced by his extravagant home and large sums of cash found in safes. The other scammers were also rounded up and waiting in the cars, soon to face official charges and appear before a judge. 2 victims of the scam watched the downfall of the scammers with satisfaction. They expressed their joy and relief, highlighting the sense of empowerment and the absence of helplessness that often accompanies falling victim to such scams. Seeing the scammers exposed and humbled on national television brought them a sense of justice. The victims acknowledged that while some scammers were apprehended, others would likely take their place due to weak oversight and the potential for lucrative gains. However, they remained hopeful that continued efforts would eventually shut down these criminal operations. With that said, thank you for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more. If you found this content helpful, give the video a like. See you in the next video. Till then, take care.